r/AskReddit, people who have had a family member/friend go missing. What was it like? Did they ever get found? Not my friend but my dad's. He went missing 15 or so years ago and everyone was going crazy trying to find him. He had 2 kids and a wife and he disappeared without a trace. His wife called all of his friends to know if they knew where he could be, but no one did. He was working on a thesis in a really well-known school and everyone knew he was getting tired not finding a breakthrough and generally unhappy with his life situation, but no one knows what happened to him. I was young, so I don't remember the exact details, just what my parents were discussing. They found him a month or 2 later. He showed up at his house and he just ran away from his problems. He was getting tired of his wife nagging about their situation and on top of that his thesis was on the line and it got too much. I remember my dad's friends and him used to talk about how worried they were he would get a stroke or something because of how stressed he was. A year after he disappeared again, but this time for a weekend and everyone got concerned on what's going on. I saw him this past year for my dad's college reunion, and he's working on a lab project at a different top tier university and still has some problems. He's working on some great cancer research though, and I hope it works out for him. A friend went missing. They had been murdered, and their body was found inside a rolled up carpet. It was horrific. The culprit still rots in prison. How old were they? Late 30s. Yikes. My grandmother went missing at one point. They found her a week later in Florida catching up with some friends. She just couldn't stand living with my aunt anymore and decided, at 68ish, to couch surf until she could get set up there. Where did she start? New Jersey. This was 30 years ago before cell phones were a thing. I follow the police from my hometown on Twitter. One day they posted a missing persons thing about my sister, which I was shocked by because no one had told me. So I contacted my mum and some other family members and none of them knew. About 30 minutes later they tweeted that she'd been found. I spoke to her and it turns out she'd gone grocery shopping and someone reported her missing. I don't actually know who reported her missing because I forgot to ask, but it was a weird feeling seeing a family member in a missing persons report. Helicopter family/friend. I had a great uncle who retired as a captain in the Marine Corps. Spent quite a while in Vietnam, had bad PTSD, but other than that was your prototypical hard-charging, kick-ass Marine, even after he grew a beard and looked like Santa. He treated his 5 kids like grunts. Every yes or no was followed by sir or ma'am. Acknowledgement of a request was an I sir or ma'am, and the kids were expected to live a structured routine during work hours. They owned a 600-acre farm and the kids were all expected to contribute in some way. They had free time in the evenings, but everything else was like a Marine base. They were all loved, all taken care of, just had super high expectations and demands. 4 of the kids grew up to either join the Marines or got college degrees, and the last I saw a couple of them, when my great aunt passed in 1997, were all close with their parents and great people. Except for one. She turned 18 and was gone the next day. Left a note basically saying, "Do not try to find me, do not ask around, I love you and goodbye." It devastated my aunt and uncle and they blamed themselves for being tough parents. The other kids maintained that she had something else going on, and it wasn't them. Around 1978, 2 years after she left, my mom and uncle were flying to Florida to see their aunt, the sister of my great aunt, and saw their cousin in the airport. My mom stopped her, they hugged, cried, and she asked my mom and uncle to give her love to my grandparents and my uncle, but please do not let them tell her parents. She turned around and disappeared into the crowd at another gate. That was the last time any member of the family saw her. My uncle still talks to his cousins and they have even hired private detectives to locate her to tell her that her mom passed in 1997 and her dad 3 years ago. No luck at all. Nobody is sure if she just wanted to live her own life, if she got pregnant and had to ditch, if she was coerced away, or went into something darker. My mom, just about a week ago, went missing for 3 days after we found out that she's been smoking meth. It's really a shocking situation, and I'm not really sure how to feel about it. There's little I can actually do to change it, and I keep running through my head what to say to her next time we speak. I'm so sorry. That's just terrible. Big hugs. My son is severely autistic and completely mute. I put him to bed, and after a bit checked him, and he was sleeping. We had just bought him a trampoline for his birthday. I went to bed and was not asleep, yet when I heard a weird tinkling sound and ran downstairs to see the one and only unlocked exit of any sort open. He will run away at the blink of an eye, has escaped the school even, but shit did I panic. I almost left my body in that fear. I don't even remember how I got out of the house. He was at the park rolling in the dirt and his unders happy as a clam. Lol. Took 8 minutes to find him. My younger brother who's 28 now is the same. Severely autistic, nonverbal. My parents had to build high fences and install cameras in all the rooms to keep a safe eye on him. One day he disappeared from the house and dad found him standing naked at the school entrance. We live next door. Luckily it was a weekend so no one was around and it was locked. Second time we got a call from a neighbor saying he was in her house. She found him, but naked sitting on her sofa. He's an adult at this point, so the poor lady must have gotten the fright of her life. When I was between freshman and sophomore year of high school, a girl I knew ran away with her boyfriend, whom I also knew. I wasn't aware they took off until I saw the Center for Missing Children poster on some power poles. Thankfully, they ended up being found / coming home, but when I saw that poster, my heart sank. Another girl I met years later also went missing, but she sadly turned up murdered. I wanna say it was Spin magazine that wrote a story about her as well. It was the biggest coverage I'd seen on something that affected me at the time. Maybe Rolling Stone, I can't remember offhand. This was late high school, senior year, 1999. And then I once got lost for a few hours on Deer Island in my teens as well. Went for a walk in the wooded area with a friend. At one point, the friend headed back to where our boats were docked, but I continued on, in awe of the nature and animals I was coming across. However, I had no idea the island was as big as it was, so when I rounded a bend and expected to find the dock we were at, I found instead the other side of the island with a whole other set of docks. Lol. Had to have someone radio my parents' boat to let them know I was there and safe. My poor mum was worried sick, literally. My younger brother who's 28 now is severely autistic and nonverbal. My parents had to build high fences and install cameras in all the rooms to keep a safe eye on him. One day he disappeared from the house and dad quickly found him standing naked at the school entrance. We live next door. Luckily it was a weekend so no one was around and it was locked. Second time we got a call from a neighbor saying he was in her house. She found him, but naked sitting on her sofa. He's an adult at this point, so the poor lady must have gotten the fright of her life. My parents are really lucky to live in a small rural area where everyone knows of my brother. If this was a city, I couldn't imagine what would have happened. She was missing for 3 or 4 days before her torso was found in the suspect's basement. His trial for her murder and dismemberment starts in September. I'm sorry for your loss. I can't imagine what you are going through. Thank you. He was in his 30s and one of those people who just couldn't get his life together, no matter how hard he tried. He had to move back in with his father, who was an absolute asshole. His father was one of those rigid, angry men who constantly yell and overreact over everything. They had a fight about his inability to get a job and the son walked out and never came back. We put up flyers, posted on the internet, etc. A month later he was found hanging from a tree in the woods where he used to play as a child. That is so sad. I'm so sorry. Thank you. We weren't super close, but I felt so bad for him. I tried to help by having him do some odd jobs for a few bucks and always way overpaid him. He put in the stereo in my car and accidentally scratched the dash a little. He kept apologizing and tried to give me my money back. I didn't take it, of course. I see those scratches every day. They remind me that, even though he was what some would call a loser, He was a good person. My kindergarten teacher went missing. Her husband was abusive. We think she ran away. Still have no idea where she is. I hope he didn't kill her. I hope not. My dad was mentally ill and he went missing a few times. One time he was missing for 2 weeks until my mom got a call that he was seen in Texas. We lived in California at the time. He was trying to go see his mom in New Jersey. They eventually found him in Virginia and got him back on his meds. Smash the like button to get a surprise.